Welcome to our deep dive. Today, we're looking into something pretty interesting, actually. A surprise webinar, high energy, popped up really late at night. Yeah, promising this big comeback secret for a new era of prosperity. We managed to get hold of some excerpts from it. It's called the Ofortune Cascade webinar. Like I said, late night, only announced 2 hours before it started. Lots of big promises made. So our job today is to unpack it all. The mechanics they're claiming, the projections they shared, and what it all might mean. This whole idea of creating richer founders and affiliates.
Right. And what's quite fascinating, I think, is how this one event, this webinar, gives us such a detailed peek into their specific model, both the financial side and the tech behind it. So we'll be breaking down how they say they're generating the income, how they plan to manage growth, and importantly, how they tackle the concerns people might have, all based on this pretty spontaneous online meeting.
Exactly. Get ready to understand what they claim makes this Ofortune cascade work, hear about the key people involved, we got excerpts with their voices, and maybe uncover some surprising details about how they're defining passive income here. Okay, so let's paint the picture. It's a surprise webinar, right? 100 minutes long, live streamed. And there's this timer in the corner, but it's counting up, not down.
Which is a bit unusual in itself.
Yeah. And you hear from several key people. There's Ash Mufareh, he's the CEO, the visionary. Tara Singh, she's the product manager for this Ofortune thing. Then Raj Kumar, marketing strategist. Also Ava Cole, who's an independent tech analyst, sort of playing the skeptic role. And Mike Ellis, an affiliate leader, plus Grace Okoro, she's an early founder from Africa. The host for the event was Cliff O'Reilly. Quite a panel.
Definitely. And that impromptu feel, it suggests they wanted to convey urgency, directness from the top, plus having all those different viewpoints, the insider team, the external analysts, the actual users. It adds layers. It feels like they're trying to present a well-rounded case, even if it is their own webinar.
Right. So the main event, Ofortune Cascade, what did they actually say it is?
Well, Tara Singh, the product manager, she described it as a micro-commission engine, and it's apparently layered on top of their O-Wallet. Now, O-Wallet is their digital payment platform they already have. She compared the Cascade to an interest-bearing wallet, but like on steroids. Much more powerful, supposedly.
It's on steroids. Okay, and the micro part, they really mean tiny, right?
Oh, yeah. Grace Okoro specifically asked, how micro? And Tara's answer was fractions of a cent.
Fractions of a cent. Okay, so how does that add up to anything significant?
Well, that's the core mechanism, according to Ash Mufareh. He explained that these tiny bits, these fractions, they cascade thousands of times per transaction across their whole system. He said their AI takes unused compute power, that's the term they used, and redirects it to ad exchanges. So the idea is every click, every OConnect stream, every OShop sale drops nano credits into founders and affiliates buckets 2004 annum. The big promise is truly passive income, like making money while you sleep or while your network is active, even if you're not. That unused compute power angle is definitely novel.
It really is. Okay, so the analyst, Ava Cole, she pushed them on the numbers, right? What did they actually project?
Good question. Raj Kumar, the marketing strategist, he shared their models. He talked about a conservative RPM that's revenue per mil or per 1,000 views of $14. And they based this on getting 12.5 million daily traffic figures.
Okay.
So if you run those numbers, it translates to a projected $70 million monthly payout. That's to the field, so to the founders and affiliates, based on a 40% payout rate.
$70 million a month. That's
right.
Quite a projection. An 8-figure monthly payout. Wow. How did they say that gets divided up?
They laid out a specific structure, 60%. 60% goes into what they call the founders pool. 30% goes to the affiliates pool. And the remaining 10% is held back for auto-compounding bonuses. So a pretty clear allocation plan for that projected revenue.
Okay, 60-30-10. Got it. And just when people are probably trying to process that 70 million number.
Exactly. Ash Mufareh introduces another layer. He called it the dynamic rank elevator, or DRE.
Dynamic rank elevator, what does that do?
Well, instead of monthly rank updates, which is common in these kinds of structures, this DRE system updates ranks hourly. It's apparently AI-powered. It crunches teen activity, automatically gives out badges, unlocks instant bumps in shares. And the big sell is it eliminates manual audits.
Hourly updates. Wow, but wouldn't that make earnings incredibly volatile? Like up and down constantly?
That's the immediate question, isn't it? High volatility potential?
Yeah, exactly. How did they address that? Did Raj Kumar have an answer for that potential instability?
He did. He talked about a smoothing algorithm. Its purpose, he said, is to make sure nobody's earnings drop more than 5% from one day to the next. So they're aiming for, in his words, consistency with upside. trying to balance the dynamism with some stability.
A smoothing algorithm. Okay. Keeping drops within 5% daily sounds ambitious with hourly updates, especially if the market gets choppy. It's a complex technical solution they're proposing there. All right, so they've got these big payout projections, this dynamic rank system, but it all hinges on getting massive amounts of traffic, right? How do they plan to get those 12.5 million daily visitors or even more?
That's where Traffic Prime X comes in. That's their name for the strategy.
Traffic Prime X, okay.
Ash revealed they've basically bought up remnant ad inventory across 200 different DSPs demand-side platforms. For the rest of this year, Q3 and Q4, their projection, hitting 18 to 22 million daily visitors by November.
18 to 22 million.
Yeah. And the crucial part, the part they really emphasized, is that the company pays for acquiring this traffic. So founders and affiliates just need to, as they put it, harvest conversions. No need for them to spend their own money on ads. The company handles the traffic cost.
Okay, that's a huge point if true, shifting the entire cost of traffic acquisition. But naturally, this brings up questions of legitimacy, right? Someone in the chat actually asked, is this legal? How did they tackle that skepticism?
They seemed prepared for it. Tara Singh addressed it directly. She stated they passed their SOC2 Type 2 audit last month. And for anyone listening who doesn't know, SOC2 Type 2 is a pretty serious audit focusing on security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, privacy, basically how they handle data securely over time.
Right, that's a significant compliance benchmark.
Definitely. She mentioned there's a letter from KPMG, the auditors, available in everyone's back office portal as proof. They also did a couple of live demos to show compliance. One was a live penetration test, and another was their O-Verify facial liveness demo for KYC Penamela, Know Your Customer, and anti-money laundering rules.
Ah.
Apparently, a founder who was watching from Dubai completed the O-Verify process live on the webinar in just 12 seconds.
Wow, okay. So SOC2, KPMG litter, live demos, they were trying to build a strong case for compliance. And what about growth and sustainability? Any evidence presented there?
Well, Mike Ellis, the affiliate leader, shared his personal story.
Yeah.
His team grew from just 8 people to 12,000 before the launch even happened. He credited their social sharing AI tools for that. And Grace Okoro, the founder from Africa, asked about long-term sustainability. Raj Kumar responded by showing a 5-year cash flow projection. He claimed it maintained a 48% reserve ratio throughout.
A 48% reserve ratio, that's quite high.
It is. So you have the compliance efforts, the reserve fund claim. It seems designed to counter the too good to be true feeling. Ava Cole, the analyst, apparently summed it up later as high reward, mitigated risk. Of course, the real test is always in the execution and the independent verification of those projections and audits over time, right?
Absolutely. Now, they mentioned global reach. What specifics did they offer for people outside, say, North America or Europe?
Ash Mufareh specifically announced zero-fee local payout options for Kenya, India, and Nigeria. Direct bank transfers, presumably, and he talked about their ADI optimizer. It supposedly uses GPT technology to create localized ad creatives in real time across 149 languages. So yeah, definitely signaling a strong intent to make this accessible and functional globally.
Interesting. Did they talk about the why, the motivation behind creating Ofortune?
Ash did share a bit of an origin story. He said the idea came about during some downtime they had in 2024. The goal was to future-proof incomes for their members.
Future-proofing.
Oh.
Okay. And did the panel members share any personal goals tied to this? Sometimes that helps connect the dots for people.
They did. Grace Okoro mentioned her dream was to use her earnings to build eco-schools back in Lagos. And Mike Ellis introduced something he called the 10 by 10 challenge, encouraging his fellow affiliates to help 10 people reach an income of $1,000 per month within 10 weeks using the system. So trying to link the financial model to tangible impacts and personal achievements.
Right, building that narrative. And they're not thinking small about the launch either. Are they holographic countdowns?
Yeah, apparently. Synchronized holographic countdowns planned for the official launch day, July 24th, 2025, in Times Square, at the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, and in Nairobi, definitely aiming for a big global splash.
Okay, so as the 100 minutes were wrapping up, did they drop any final surprises or bonuses? Often happens in these things.
You guessed it. Tara Singh introduced something called a founder legacy pool. It's an extra 5% of the company's net profits set aside specifically for founders who joined before 2023. It apparently vests quarterly.
An extra 5% for early adopters.
Okay. And then Ash announced a surprise 10x match. The deal is, for every dollar a member earns during the very first week after launch, the company will match it with 10x the value in their own O-coins.
10 times match in O-coins for week 1 earnings. That's a strong incentive to hit the ground running. Anything else?
One more thing. Cliff Riley, the host, revealed a leaderboard contest. Top 100 affiliates globally will win an all-expenses-paid trip to the ONPASSIVE AI campus in Hyderabad, India.
Wow, okay. Legacy pool, 10x match, leaderboard trip, lots of carrots being dangled there at the end.
Definitely designed to build excitement and immediate action. And the final moments really hammered home the urgency. Tara confirmed the deployment timeline was incredibly fast. She said, Ofortune code freeze tomorrow, security audit Saturday, soft open Monday. So just days away from activation.
Code freeze tomorrow, soft open Monday. That's rapid. And Ash's final words.
Very direct. Founders, affiliates, dreamers, welcome to perpetual prosperity. I'll meet you at the top. End webinar.
Okay, so let's recap. We've unpacked this Ofortune cascade. It's presented as a system using micro-commissions, cascading thousands of times, fueled by AI redirecting compute power, promising substantial payouts, hourly rank updates smoothed by an algorithm, massive traffic injections paid for by the company, and all supposedly backed by compliance like SOC2, KYC demos, and bolstered by things like legacy pools and launch bonuses.
Yeah, the ambition is undeniable. And the level of technical and financial detail they provided in that spontaneous webinar is quite something. It's this vision of an automated AI-driven financial engine designed for, well, exponential growth. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does the future look like if passive income isn't just from stocks or real estate, but from the background hum of the internet, from compute power and collective online activity within a specific ecosystem?
That's a fascinating question. They're essentially proposing a way to turn everyday clicks, views, and sales within their platform into this perpetual prosperity, as Ash put it. So for you listening, what stands out the most? What seems like the most compelling part of this Ofortune cascade vision? Or maybe what's the most challenging aspect, the biggest hurdle you see? Definitely something to think about as you navigate your own digital world.
So it's not all straightforwardly positive then. There's some nuance.
Exactly. It paints a more complex picture. Progress in one area, but potential difficulties or adjustments may be happening elsewhere.
Right. In the summary notes, Mr. Ash is committed to keeping people informed through these changes. His visit on December 26th was highlighted as being important for that.
That direct engagement.
Why is that so critical? Especially when there might be difficult news or uncertainty. Having the leader show up and talk directly.
It's huge for building trust, isn't it? And transparency. When leaders communicate directly, especially during tricky times, it allows people to ask questions, voice concerns.
Yeah, it feels less like information is being hidden.
Precisely. It helps people understand the why behind decisions and hopefully maintain confidence in the overall direction, even if there are bumps in the road.
Okay. Another theme that came through was founder engagement. Founders are apparently actively participating.
Yeah, a collaborative spirit was mentioned.
And the importance of genuine actions from everyone involved was stressed. What does that phrase, genuine actions, signal to you?
Genuine actions. It sounds like they're looking for more than just passive agreement, you know. It suggests a call for real, meaningful contributions. Authenticity.
Like walk the talk.
Kind of, yeah. Active, sincere participation to actually help drive things forward, not just being on the list, but being involved. That kind of commitment from early supporters is often vital.
And interestingly, founders were also encouraged to pursue their own initiatives while waiting for more company updates.
Right, that was an interesting bet.
Empowering people to act independently. What could be the upside of that kind of approach?
Well, it taps into the skills and ideas across the whole founder base, doesn't it? You might get creative solutions popping up that the central company wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah, like grassroots innovation.
Exactly. It also keeps people engaged, gives them a sense of ownership and momentum, even if the main company developments are still pending. It could even generate useful stuff the company can adopt later.
A more hands-on approach, potentially providing solutions from within the community itself.
Could be. It fosters a more proactive culture, maybe.
Now let's circle back to the pace of progress. Mr. Ash apparently kept emphasizing the rapid speed of projects,
Yes, that came up repeatedly.
reiterating that significant developments are imminent, that sooner rather than later message again. Why keep hitting that point so hard, do you think?
Well, it does a few things, I suppose. It builds excitement, obviously. Keeps the community energized and hopeful that things are really moving.
Manages expectations upwards, in a way.
Maybe. Or reassures them progress is happening fast behind the scenes. It could also be a message to the wider market, you know. Signaling momentum.
Right, projecting confidence.
Yeah. And it connects nicely with expressing gratitude for the community's support. Like, thanks for sticking with us, things are happening fast. It reinforces that positive loop.
Makes sense. But alongside that forward momentum, he also acknowledged recent setbacks,
Yes, that's important too.
recognizing challenges, saying they've provided lessons and influenced these strategic changes they're making now. What's the value in openly admitting setbacks like that?
It builds credibility, I think, shows they're not pretending everything's perfect, and suggests the current plans aren't just theory, but they're based on actual experience, learning from what didn't work.
So a more pragmatic approach, perhaps.
Exactly. It can actually be quite reassuring for the community, showing the company is willing to learn and adapt based on real-world stuff.
And he gave assurances that these ongoing efforts are aimed at getting to, better and more secure outcomes down the line.
Mm-hmm. Future-focused.
And crucially, they're apparently committed to seeking feedback now to make sure communication and engagement actually work effectively.
Why is setting up that feedback loop so vital?
Oh, it's essential for any group that relies on a community like this.
Yeah.
It lets you know if your message is landing, allows for course correction.
Avoids talking into an echo chamber. Right. It builds a sense of partnership. If you actively ask for and use feedback, people feel heard, and you can make sure what you're building actually aligns with what the community needs or expects. It builds stronger relationships.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. To recap our deep dive into this Mr. Ash update.
Yeah.
We're definitely hearing strong signals about launches coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, imminence is a key theme.
There's a clear push on strategic realignment, getting the company back on track, and actively fighting misinformation.
Right. Addressing challenges head on.
And the update really underscores how much they value the community and the founders being actively involved, all shaped by recent experiences, both the good and the bad.
Absolutely. It paints a picture of a company in motion, adapting, and trying to communicate clearly about its next steps.
So thinking about all this, Mr. Ash really hammering home the rapid pace, the need to fix misinformation, and leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, considering all that, what specific expectations or maybe even concerns does this raise for you about where ONPASSIVE is heading? And I guess, how important do you feel it is to stay informed and have a clear perspective as all this continues to unfold? Something to think about.
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're jumping into a set of sources you provided. They all center around a speech by Mr. Ash Mufari about ONPASSIVE's mission. Specifically, its, potential impact in Nigeria.
That's right. And our aim for this deep dive is really to unpack the key points from these sources, understand the vision being presented, and see what it tells us about ONPASSIVE's focus on Nigeria.
More than just a summary, getting into the message itself.
Exactly. What's the deeper significance here?
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're looking at summaries, key excerpts from this speech.
Yeah, and the context is pretty striking right off the bat. According to the sources, this speech happened in Nigeria, specifically on their 62nd Independence Day.
Wow, okay. So that sets a particular stage.
Definitely. The sources say it opens with greetings, acknowledging the importance of the day, celebrating it.
Standard enough to start.
But then almost immediately, the summary suggests it pivots. While celebrating, it also apparently highlights what the speaker sees as failures in various systems within Nigeria.
Interesting. So acknowledging the pride, but also sort of the unmet potential or challenges.
Precisely. It sets up this dynamic potential despite problems. And the sources say Mr. Mufara expressed a real commitment to making a positive impact.
And framed Nigeria as critical for Africa's future.
Yes, absolutely critical. There's even specific language noted in the sources praising the potential of the Nigerian people themselves. The message seemed pretty direct. Any big plans for Africa have to include Nigeria.
Okay. So pride, potential, but facing challenges squarely.
Which leads us right into the next theme that comes through in the source material.
Okay.
Identifying those ongoing struggles.
And the summary doesn't mince words, does it? It points to things like corruption, security.
Yeah, explicitly mentioned according to the report. And it's right at this point that ONPASSIVE is brought in.
Oh, okay.
And not just as an idea, but presented as having existing solutions ready to potentially tackle some of these issues in Nigeria.
Right. This is where it gets really specific based on the notes provided. The sources pinpoint particular areas ONPASSIVE is targeting. Education is one, right? Revolutionizing it.
That's highlighted as a primary commitment. And it's framed as a path to, overall societal improvement. Big goals.
And not just education in isolation.
No. The summary stressed that enhancing the financial system was just as vital and needed to happen alongside educational reform. It's presented as this integrated approach.
An integrated transformation. And the sources make a point about the type of solution, don't they?
They do. It's emphasized that the speech wasn't talking about quick fixes, not temporary stuff.
Like Band-Aids?
Exactly. It called for sustainable, lasting solutions. It even specifically mentioned moving past ideas like crowdfunding, which seemed to be dismissed as, well, not enough for deep change.
Okay, so the focus is clearly on systemic foundational shifts, not just patching things up.
That's a really key takeaway from the sources, yeah.
And this ambition for deep impact, it seems to feed into the vision part described. Nigeria wasn't just another market possibility.
Apparently not. The sources state Nigeria was identified as a definite priority for launching what the speech called life-changing products and innovations.
Life-changing, that's quite a claim.
It really underlines the scale of the vision being communicated. And again, it brings us back to education. Revolutionizing the educational system is repeatedly flagged as a key target for this impact.
But not the only target.
No, the source material suggests the speech indicated other sectors would benefit too, like a ripple effect from these innovations.
Okay, so connecting this bigger picture,
Yeah.
the sources mention some powerful language used in the speech about achieving true independence.
Yes, true independence and a paradigm shift for Nigeria, directly linking these big ideas to the ONPASSIVE initiative.
True independence, that's loaded, especially given the Independence Day context.
Yeah.
What do the sources suggest that actually means in this framing?
Well, it seems framed through this combination of technological and economic transformation, but it's not purely tech-driven.
Okay.
The speech, according to the sources, also really recognized the talented, educated people in Nigeria. They weren't just passive recipients.
Right, they were positioned as key contributors to making it all work.
Essential contributors, yeah. So building it with Nigerians, not just for them. That seems to be the message.
That's an important distinction.
And there's this really striking phrase captured. ONPASSIVE's arrival in Nigeria is presented almost as a catalyst for true freedom and independence.
A catalyst, like the spark needed to achieve something deeper than just formal independence.
Exactly, building on that foundation. And the sources also report this belief was stated that success in Nigeria specifically would be critical for ONPASSIVE's own global success as a company.
Which circles back to that priority status we talked about.
It really reinforces it, and this belief was apparently coupled with a commitment, also noted in the sources, that their actions would be driven by this intense determination to succeed there.
This level of ambition, this focus on true independence, it sounds like it must lead towards a call to action. How did the speech frame that, according to the sources?
It really seems to center the effort on the Nigerian people themselves. The source material highlights a strong emphasis on unity. Unity being absolutely essential to achieve the mission.
And there was a personal touch mentioned, too. The speaker calling himself a brother.
Yeah, reportedly introducing himself that way, pledging positive changes, creating that connection.
But the core message about who drives the change.
The core assertion, strongly highlighted in the sources, is that real change must come from the people.
Okay.
And this was reportedly contrasted explicitly with relying on, say, traditional authorities or regimes. The speech seemed to frame those as maybe sources of past failures or stagnation.
So positioning this as something separate from, or maybe even bypassing, the usual political channels, a kind of grassroots movement.
That seems to be the implication. The sources point to this call for collective support, for determination, urging people to work hard. It even apparently dismissed past failures by suggesting it was just a lack of sufficient effort, not, impossible problems.
Interesting framing.
And the conclusion drawn from this line of argument, as reported, is that ONPASSIVE is presented as this necessary shift towards effective solutions for Nigeria.
A necessary shift, powered by the people. That definitely adds a sense of urgency, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The sources convey a real sense of urgency from the speech, like a concern that if ONPASSIVE doesn't succeed in Nigeria, the country risks falling back into old cycles of stagnation.
The stakes are framed incredibly high then.
Very high. The speech reportedly stressed that making ONPASSIVE work is necessary specifically for Nigeria, framing its success as vital for the nation's whole future.
Wow. That's a lot to put on one initiative.
It is. And this call for immediate action was paired with a pretty powerful statement reported in the sources that the next generation is relying on their efforts.
Directly linking it to the future for young Nigerians. That's a heavy responsibility to place on the audience.
It certainly is. And interestingly, the sources mention that in the same context, the speech included a warning.
Against what?
against trusting politicians, which again reinforces that idea of this being presented as an alternative path, maybe outside the established political system.
Okay, so urgency, high stakes, a people-driven approach, skepticism towards politics.
Right. And while the sources mention excitement being described around ONPASSIVE,
Yes.
the speech also apparently balanced that by stressing that a lot of hard work is still needed in Nigeria to make these goals a reality. It wasn't pitched as, a guaranteed win or an easy road.
Got it. So manage expectations alongside the excitement. Hard work is key.
Exactly. And finally, the sources mention one more thing, that while they couldn't reveal all the details, a strategic plan is supposedly in place.
And that plan.
It reportedly prioritizes success in Nigeria, even over potentially easier markets elsewhere.
Okay, even if other places might seem like quicker wins, Nigeria comes first.
That's the message conveyed in the sources, yeah. It really hammers home how central Nigeria is painted in this whole vision and plan described in the speech. It's not just a market, it's framed as the priority.
So let's try to synthesize this. What does it all add up to?
Well, based purely on the source material you shared, we've dived into a speech outlining a really ambitious vision for Nigeria. It's centered on using on-passive solutions, especially in education and finance. Those were highlighted to drive systemic, sustainable change.
And we heard how the speech frames this not merely as a corporate project, but as a movement, a people-driven effort calling for unity, aiming for this idea of true independence.
Yeah, and we definitely pick up on that strong sense of urgency reported in the sources, plus the strategic commitment. Nigeria being explicitly named as the priority, crucial for the company's wider success, even if it's the harder path.
So looking just at these sources, Nigeria is presented as absolutely pivotal to ONPASSIVE's mission and its future, according to this speech.
Which leaves us, and you, with a pretty interesting question to chew on. When a global initiative positions itself as a catalyst for technological and economic transformation, how does that potentially redefine what true independence means for a nation?
Especially when that vision is explicitly tied, as the sources suggest it was, to the efforts and hopes of the next generation.
Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Okay, let's dive in. We've got this stack of material you provided, articles, research notes, quite a mix.
Yeah, all focused on ONPASSIVE, and this other name, OnFusion.
Right. Try and figure out what's really going on, especially looking at, June 2025.
Cutting through some of the chatter, maybe.
Exactly. So our goal here, just using what you've given us, what's the actual situation, is ONPASSIVE launching anything in June 2025?
And, well, based purely on these sources, the answer is a pretty clear no.
No, really?
No official launch plan for ONPASSIVE itself in June 2025. That's what this material indicates.
Huh. But there's so much talk. Why? Why do the sources say no launch? What's the reason given?
So the documents here, they point to a pretty big change. They suggest the original ONPASSIVE entity was formally wound down.
Wound down.
Yeah, ceased operations. Seems like that happened early in 2025.
So it's not just quiet, it's actually stopped as a functioning thing.
That seems to be the picture from these sources, and it looks like it